The Professor and Elphaba have developed a bond. The Professor sees great potential in Elphaba's magical abilities and intelligence. He tells her that the world is cruel to those who are different, but that she has the power to change things. Meanwhile, Glinda, despite being popular and admired, starts to feel curious about Elphaba. She notices how strong and determined Elphaba is, and even though they often argue, she starts to admire her courage. Over time, the two form an unexpected friendship. One day, the Professor disappears mysteriously. Elphaba learns that he was taken away by government officials who are trying to silence anyone who speaks up for animals. Furious, Elphaba confronts the principal, who admits that the authorities do not want animals to have equal rights. She warns Elphaba to stay quiet or face consequences, but Elphaba refuses to back down. With Glinda's help, she sneaks into a secret government facility and discovers cages full of animals being experimented on. Among them, she finds the Professor, who is weak and barely alive. She tries to free him, but before she can, soldiers arrive. Elphaba uses her magic to fight them off, causing chaos. However, the Professor, already too weak, dies in her arms. Heartbroken and enraged, Elphaba vows to fight against the corruption and injustice in their world. News of her rebellion spreads, and the government brands her as a dangerous witch. The general, her own father, declares her an enemy. Rose, her beloved sister, is manipulated into believing that Elphaba is evil. Feeling betrayed, Elphaba leaves the university and goes into hiding. Glinda, torn between loyalty to the system and her friendship with Elphaba, is offered a position of power if she agrees to denounce her friend. With a heavy heart, she accepts, believing she can do more good from the inside. Years pass, and Elphaba becomes a legend, feared by some, admired by others. But deep inside, she is just a girl who wanted to belong, who wanted love, and who wanted justice. As the story returns to the present, Glinda looks at the burning statue of Elphaba and whispers, "She wasn't always the wicked one. We made her that way." The villagers cheer, unaware of the true story. Glinda walks away, carrying the weight of her past, knowing that the truth is far more complicated than the stories people believe. The principal had begun training Elphaba, teaching her to control her magical powers. While she could lift objects with precision, her anger caused everything to spiral into chaos. Instead of scolding her, the principal was pleased, recognizing the immense potential of her powers. One night, as Elphaba was on her way to meet the Professor, she overheard a conversation between the Professor and his fellow creatures. They spoke in distress, saying, "It's time for us to leave. We no longer have a place here. The day is near when humans will eliminate us." Hearing this, Elphaba felt heartbroken. She was about to leave when the Professor saw her and called her inside. He treated her with kindness and warmth, something she had rarely experienced. Moved by his affection, Elphaba made a promise. "I will help you. I will fight for your rights." Determined, she left for the forest, where she unexpectedly encountered a young man on horseback. He was startled by her presence, and only then did we learn that he was the prince. Back at the university, rumors of the prince's arrival spread quickly. Glinda, eager to impress him, dressed in her finest clothes. When the prince arrived, he paid little attention to anyone. However, Glinda, the brightest and most beautiful student, persistently tried to gain his favor. Eventually, he befriended her, and she invited him to the library. It was here that we saw the prince's reckless nature. He disregarded the rules, climbing onto the bookshelves. The librarian, furious at his behavior, scolded him, but instead of apologizing, the prince began singing loudly to tease him. Glinda and the other students joined in, turning the library into a scene of laughter and chaos, everyone except for Elphaba, who disapproved of their antics. Later, a boy invited Glinda to the upcoming prom party. However, Glinda had her sights set on going with the prince. To avoid rejecting the boy directly, she suggested that he take Rose instead. Rose, thrilled by the invitation, rushed to tell Elphaba. However, Elphaba immediately became suspicious, sensing that Glinda had ulterior motives. She tried to stop Rose from going, but Rose, eager for the experience, became upset at Elphaba's interference. Meanwhile, Glinda was preparing for the party, making sure she looked stunning. As she and her friends got ready, they found an old, unusual-looking hat among her belongings. It had once belonged to Glinda's grandmother and resembled the hat of a witch. In a mischievous act, they decided to give the hat to Elphaba. Unaware of the joke, Elphaba happily accepted the hat, thinking it was a genuine gift from Glinda. She arrived at the prom, excited to be included for once. But as soon as she walked in, the entire room erupted into laughter. Everyone mocked her unusual appearance, ridiculing her without her realizing it. Despite the humiliation, Elphaba remained optimistic, believing that Glinda had genuinely shown kindness to her. She placed the hat on the floor and began dancing alone, as she had come without a partner. Her movements were awkward and unusual, which only made people laugh at her even more. The laughter grew louder, with students whispering and giggling amongst themselves. However, as Glinda watched, guilt began to consume her. She realized that Elphaba was being humiliated because of her actions. In an attempt to make amends, Glinda stepped forward and joined Elphaba in her unique dance, moving just as awkwardly as her. The crowd watched in surprise. Slowly, the laughter turned into admiration. Seeing Glinda embrace Elphaba's differences, the rest of the students followed, dancing alongside them. At that moment, it became clear Elphaba was no longer an outcast. For the first time, she was truly accepted by the people around. This was a significant day for Elphaba. All the resentment she had felt toward Glinda vanished. The two embraced, letting go of their past grievances. After leaving the party for the first time, they sat in their room, talking like true friends. Glinda excitedly revealed a secret. "The prince and I are going to get married soon. No one knows about this except you." After sharing her secret, Glinda asked Elphaba to reveal one of her own. She assumed Elphaba's secret was the mysterious green bottle she always kept under her pillow. Without hesitation, Glinda grabbed it, hoping to uncover its significance. But Elphaba immediately snatched it back and returned it to its place, making it clear that it wasn't something she wished to share. Annoyed by Elphaba's reaction, Glinda sulked and turned away. However, after a moment, she approached Elphaba again, attempting to console her. She revealed something deeply personal. "Actually, my father, the governor, never really liked me. It's because I was born with green skin. He didn't want his next child to be like me. That's why he made my mother drink a lot of milk every day while she was pregnant. Rose wasn't born green, but she was born prematurely. That's why she is handicapped." Elphaba was stunned. She had always blamed herself for everything. Her mother's death, Rose's condition, and even her father's hatred toward her. If she hadn't been born this way, her father wouldn't have forced her mother to drink excessive milk. Rose wouldn't have been born early, and their mother might still be alive. Overwhelmed with guilt, she became deeply upset. Seeing Elphaba so distressed, Glinda comforted her. To lighten the mood, she decided to give Elphaba a makeover. She applied makeup, styled her hair, and changed her look. The next day, when Elphaba arrived at the university, everyone was pleasantly surprised by her transformation. Even the prince, who had never paid much attention to her before, stopped to speak with her. At that time, Elphaba was on her way to meet her favorite professor, the kind-hearted animal. However, since animals were no longer safe in the human world, all the animal teachers were being forced to leave the university. It was their final class, but before they could even say goodbye, a new professor arrived with security guards and forcibly removed them. Watching this injustice unfold, Elphaba was heartbroken. She wanted to help but felt powerless. Soon, a new professor took over, and he brought a small lion cub locked in a cage. He announced to the class that animals would no longer be treated as equals, but would instead be kept in captivity. This enraged Elphaba. She couldn't bear the thought of animals being imprisoned. Her fury caused everything in the room, objects, books, even the flowers, to start floating in the air. The energy of her anger was so powerful that it knocked everyone unconscious, everyone except the prince. Realizing this was her chance to save the lion cub, Elphaba rushed to its cage, determined to set it free. The prince, seeing her struggle, decided to help. Together they rescued the cub and rode off into the jungle on a bicycle. Meanwhile, the principal entered the classroom and found the students and the teacher unconscious. She instantly knew that only Elphaba could have caused this. But instead of being angry, she was delighted. Her powers are growing, she thought. Without wasting time, she wrote a letter to a great magician, informing him about Elphaba's extraordinary abilities. In the jungle, Elphaba and the prince had a small argument about something. The prince, Frustrated, was about to leave when Elphaba instinctively grabbed his hand. For the first time, she realized she had feelings for him. However, she also knew he would never choose her over Glinda. Not wanting to make things complicated, she let go of his hand, and they returned to the university. The next day, a big surprise awaited Elphaba. The great magician had invited her to meet him. The principal had told him about her magic, and he wanted to see it for himself. It was an incredible opportunity, and Elphaba eagerly agreed to go. A grand green train arrived to take her to the Emerald City. As she was about to leave, everyone came to bid her farewell. The prince handed her a flower for good luck. Glinda also arrived, but she seemed different. She hesitated for a moment before confessing, "The prince and our friendship isn't the same anymore. Lately he seems distant, as if something is bothering him." Hearing this, Elphaba felt a pang of sadness but said nothing. She boarded the train, ready for her journey. Just as the train was about to depart, she noticed Glinda slipping a letter into her hand. Elphaba opened it and read the words, "I wish I could go with you, but I just can't say it out loud." Without thinking, Elphaba reached out, grabbed Glinda's hand and pulled her onto the train. Moments later, they finally arrived in the magnificent Emerald City, the very place we saw at the beginning of the story. We had seen this city before, and we would see it again in the future. As Elphaba and Glinda arrived, they were given a grand welcome. The people danced in their honor, celebrating their arrival before leading them inside. It was here that they realized the true nature of this place, a city of magic. Elphaba and Glinda were soon treated to a mesmerizing magic show. After the performance, the legendary wizard himself finally appeared before them. He took Elphaba aside, eager to show her his vision for the future of the city. The model he had designed was breathtaking. Elphaba, captivated by its beauty, made a suggestion. "You should paint the streets yellow and fill them with lights." The wizard immediately followed her advice, creating the iconic yellow brick road. As they continued talking, the wizard revealed something unexpected, a small puppet of Elphaba. It depicted her as the ruler of the city. But instead of feeling flattered, Elphaba was taken aback. "I have no desire to rule anything," she said firmly. "My only dream is to help the animals, but for that, I need your help." Before their conversation could continue, the principal arrived. Overjoyed to see her, Elphaba rushed forward and hugged her. They began discussing Elphaba's wish to fight for the rights of animals. At that moment, a monkey, following the magician's orders, picked up a cloth from a magic book. The wizard then turned to Elphaba and said, "This monkey dreams of flying. If you recite this spell, you can give him wings." Encouraged by the idea of helping the animal, Elphaba eagerly chanted the spell. To her amazement, it worked. But her joy was short-lived. She quickly noticed something horrifying. The monkey was in pain. His body twisted unnaturally, and large wings began sprouting from his back. Panic set in. Desperate to undo her mistake, she recited the spell in reverse. Nothing happened. Frustrated and frightened, she turned to the magician and demanded, "Stop this!" But the wizard merely shrugged. "I can't. My magic isn't strong enough to read the spells from that book. You are the one who cast it, which means your powers are far greater than mine. Now no one can stop what has begun." Elphaba was devastated. What had she done? She had only wanted to help, but instead she had unknowingly caused suffering. Running outside, she saw an entire army of monkeys, writhing in pain as wings erupted from their backs. She realized the terrible truth. This had been a trap all along. The wizard and the principal had tricked her. They had no love for animals. They only wanted to enslave them. And they had used her, an innocent girl who only wanted to do good, to accomplish their plan. Fury ignited in Elphaba's heart. She grabbed the magic book and made a run for it. Seeing her escape, the principal turned to Glinda. "I can teach you magic," she offered. "All you have to do is bring Elphaba back." Glinda hesitated. Perhaps she wanted this opportunity too. Without another word, she ran after Elphaba, determined to catch her. At the same time, the army of flying monkeys was unleashed. The principal ordered them to hunt Elphaba down. The wizard himself summoned his special guards to track her. Elphaba ran through the palace, desperately trying to escape. Glinda was close behind, trying to stop her. "Why are you running?" she pleaded. You have everything here. Why won't you just accept their offer? Elphaba turned to her, eyes blazing. Because I never wanted power, I only wanted to help the animals. As she ran, she stumbled into a room with a hot air balloon. Realizing this was her chance, she climbed in, preparing to flee. But before she could take off, the palace roof suddenly sealed shut. Her balloon burst into flames. Elphaba and Glinda were thrown to the ground, landing in a locked room. Trapped together, Glinda tried one last time to persuade her. If you just apologize to the principal, everything will go back to the way it was. But Elphaba had had enough. I will never bow to them, not after what they've done. Meanwhile, back in the city, the principal spread a terrible lie. She announced to the university and the entire town, Elphaba is a thief. She has stolen the magic book and run away. The people turned against her in an instant. They forgot all the good she had done. Now they hated her. Elphaba and Glinda overheard the announcement. Elphaba's hands clenched into fists. They're turning everyone against me, she growled. Glinda, desperate to fix things, begged her. Please, Elphaba, just surrender, apologize. This can all be undone. But Elphaba was beyond caring. I won't let them break me, she declared. She opened the magic book and chanted a new spell. Glinda watched in horror. We had seen this city before, and we would see it again in the future. As Elphaba and Glinda arrived, they were given a grand welcome. The people danced in their honor, celebrating their arrival before leading them inside. It was here that they realized the true nature of this place, a city of magic. Elphaba and Glinda were soon treated to a mesmerizing magic show. After the performance, the legendary wizard himself finally appeared before them. He took Elphaba aside, eager to show her his vision for the future of the city.